Hello, hello. I'm Casey.
And I'm Fallon.
And this is
Render the Darkness.
I don't know if you can tell I'm doing it with my hair down. Can you tell I'm doing it with my hair down?
Yeah.
Oh, you can still see my head moving even though my hair's down.
What? Why would your hair being down stop?
You can't see my neck. Necking.
I don't think you... Yeah. I don't think that means what you think it means.
Wait, what? Is there like a thing that means?
Necking?
Yeah. What does that mean?
Making out, necking.
Oh,
Yeah,
I just thought it was a word for my neck.
I guess I was right. I was just making a joke. Okay, I guess I was right.
All right. Well, it definitely was not necking. Okay, so today we are stepping away from the 50 states cases for this episode, and we're doing I've decided, because we couldn't come up with a name, I've made an executive decision to just call it the WTF cases, because we don't know what they're going to be from case to case, and neither do you.
No.
No?
Come
on, that's
like
wonderful. We could just call them the whatevs.
I like the WTF.
You like them? You like the WTF cases?
Yeah.
It sounds professional, right?
No.
No.
Does it sound fun?
Yeah. There we go. So this is one of the random pulls of cases. We just do whatever.
So it's going to be called
WTF we want. It's the WTF cases.
WTF.
Yeah. Before we get into my WTF case, let me give you a fun fact.
All right.
Psycho, Silence of the Lambs, and Texas Chainsaw Massacre were all inspired by serial killer Ed Gein in one way or another. In Psycho, the character Norman Bates was inspired by him. Silence of the Lambs, it was Buffalo Bill. And Texas Chainsaw Massacre, Leatherface. Today's case is going to be on cursed movie sets.
Yay! I love these kind of cases.
Why are you looking at me like that? Why were you almost about to laugh? Was there something funny about my fun fact?
No, you just did it and you're like, this case.
I'm sorry, did you want to gab about my fun fact?
No.
I just
dive right into it.
assumed that you already knew that because you're such a horror movie buff.
Yeah.
I figured you probably already knew my fun fact, but because I was doing cursed movie sets, I wanted to do a fun fact about a movie, so...
Yeah.
And I thought, let me just throw 3 in 1.
There you go.
What a deal.
Yay.
Look at me, knowing how to get some discounts.
What?
Discounts. Discounts.
So I was like, what? They may not have heard it, but, Anyway.
I did not say what she said I just said. I said discounts. Anywho, I don't know what's happening with me this episode.
Oh, man. In my head, I could be like, just sitting here, seeing you going.
I'm tired.
Oh, man. Sorry, okay.
It's fine. Okay, so today I'm going to talk about a couple of the most known movie sets that are thought to be cursed. And trust me, I know that the ones that I'm going to talk about here aren't even close to all of them because, man, is there a lot. But I'll cover some more of those later. But for today, let's get into the ones I did cover. And before anybody gets super excited, it's not The Wizard of Oz. Number 1. The Poltergeist Trilogy. Okay, first let's talk about what the film is about, in case there are people out there who don't know. So the film follows a family, the Freelings, whose house gets taken over by a poltergeist who seemingly hones its focus in mostly on the youngest daughter, whose name was Carol Ann. It takes her into its own dimension, and the family recruits the help of psychics to help them navigate this other plane to get their daughter back. And for the next 2 installments of the film, the demon or being or whatever it is, it seems to continue to follow the family, again, mostly Carol Ann, wherever they go.
Yeah, that the second and third one, like the guy is just.
They got weirder as they went on.
Yeah, what was his name?
I don't remember.
Kane?
Oh, I think it was Kane.
Was Kane?
I think it was Kane. Yeah. Before we get into the strange and bizarre things that have happened on the sets, as well as some of the tragedies surrounding and following the makings of the films, let's talk about the biggest reason that people thought the set was cursed in the first place.
Okay.
First off, and I did not know this, but from what I read, at the time the first film was being made, it wasn't uncommon practice, while a scene that required skeletons or bodies was being filmed, for them to use real cadavers or real human skeletal remains. From what I read, they did this because it was cheaper. I didn't know that was a thing. That being said, if you've ever seen the movie, you'll probably remember the scene where actress Jo Beth Williams, who plays the role of Diane Freeling, who's the mom, she falls into an unfinished pool the family has in their yard while it's heavily raining, causing the pool to be filled with muddy water. This in turn,
It's a good scene.
It is a good scene. But this in turn causes the skeletal remains of the people who resided in what was once a cemetery before the family's house was built on top of it to start popping up out of the ground. So, Diane, aka Jo Beth, is being surrounded by them and she can't get out. Well, it would later be revealed by Williams herself that she had no idea at the time that the skeletons were real.
Ooh.
But a lot of people believe that the use of real human remains combined with what the movie itself was kind of dappling into, that's kind of what catapulted the strange turns of events that would reportedly happen.
I could see that very, very muchly.
I agree. I could see that as well. So whether or not that's true, I don't know. But as we just said, definitely could see it. Makes sense to me. Now let's talk about some of the things that were said to have happened during and after filming. And this is just a compilation of events that were kind of strung out between all 3 of the films. So, probably the most bizarre thing associated to the curse, and probably another big reason why so many people believe the curse to be real, is the amount of deaths that happened to people involved in making the films. The first death was that of actress Dominique Dunne. She played the role of Dana Freeling in the first film, which was the older daughter. Sadly, Dunne would be murdered by her ex, John Thomas Sweeney, who would unfortunately choke her in the driveway of her home so hard that Dunne fell unconscious after she refused to take Sweeney back. And suddenly she would fall into a coma. Well, not suddenly, sadly. She would fall into a coma and pass away 5 days later. And this next part will really piss you off. Sweeney was only given 6.5 years for Dunne's death. And he would only serve about half of that because, our justice system.
Why?
I have no idea. That's what he was given, 6.5 years, and he only had to serve half of it. Isn't that ridiculous?
That's stupid.
Isn't that like the crazy, I just will never understand our justice system.
Mm-hmm.
Never. And this happened around 5 months after the first movie had come out. She wouldn't be the only cast member to die an unfortunate and violent death. This brings me to actor Lou Perryman, who played the role of Pugsley in the first film. Granted, his death took place many years later in 2009, but it was still under pretty bizarre circumstances, so I included it. Perryman was brutally murdered by a man named Seth Christopher Tatum. Tatum had entered Perryman's home with, according to Tatum, the intent to steal Perryman's car, but instead he chose to unalive Perryman by unaliving him with an axe.
Ooh.
Tatum would go on to confess to the crime and was given a life sentence. Another heartbreaking death, and probably the most known death surrounding the films, was that of Heather O'Rourke, who played the role of Carol Ann. Despite the fact that she was in all three movies, she tragically would pass away just four short months before the third film was actually released. Heather had been misdiagnosed with Crohn's disease. Sadly, a year after the misdiagnosis, she fell ill. It was initially thought she had the flu. She ultimately would suffer cardiac arrest, from what I read, and it would be discovered that she was actually suffering from a bowel obstruction and was suffering from a condition called a congenital intestinal abnormality that, if it had been caught on time, most likely probably could have been fixed. But sadly, by the time it was discovered, it was too late, and she passed away at only 12 years old.
That's terrible. She was such a pretty
She
little girl,
was
too.
so cute.
So
Beautiful
cute.
little girl. Another death that's notable by how shortly after wrapping up production on one of the films it was, Poltergeist 2 to be exact, is that of Julian Beck. He portrayed Preacher Cain in the movie. He would be diagnosed with stomach cancer and pass away in 1985, and the film was released in 1986.
What? Talking about the guy? Like the ghost or the poltergeist or the demon guy or whatever?
I believe so, yeah.
'Cause he was in the third one. Or did they... maybe it was a different actor.
Let me look.
We're going to Google that because, like I said, they may have used somebody different in the third one.
Yep.
Okay, who was in the third one?
Let's see. So, yep, that was him. And we will see who plays him in the third movie. And Cain was played by a guy named Nathan Davis in the third movie.
I'm gonna have to rewatch that because I swear it looked just like this dude in the second one.
Well, that would be really hard feat considering he passed away.
Yeah, I may just be thinking it was okay. But anyway, sorry. Yeah. My bad.
Nope, you're fine. Right, sorry, went down a rabbit hole there. So yes, Julian Beck did die after making the second one. Like I said, it was released in 1985. He passed away in 1985. The film was released in 1986. Let me catch back up to where it was. Okay, another death from the second Poltergeist film was that of William Sampson, who portrayed the shaman Taylor, and actually was a shaman himself. He would pass away in 1987, shortly after receiving a heart-lung transplant.
Oh, wow.
According to Craig T. Nelson, who portrayed Steve Freeling, things got so strange on set that an exorcism would end up being performed. I read that the exorcism was actually performed by William Sampson. Some sources say he did it in an attempt to further freak out the actors so their reactions to the things in the film would be more sincere. I don't know if that's true or not, because other sources said he did it because he also felt like some strange things were going on set. So there's like conflicting stories about why an exorcism was performed.
Yeah.
But either way, the actors, they did report really strange feelings at times in certain shooting locations. But I think ultimately the reason for the poltergeist curse belief, I think it was mostly just born from the use of the real skeletons and the amount of people who passed away during or extremely shortly after filming, combined with the public knowledge of an exorcism being performed, and there's a good chance theories are going to fly, and honestly, fairly so.
Yeah, I agree, yeah.
So, okay, so the second film that we're going to talk about is The Omen.
Ooh, good movie.
Honestly, I've not ever researched anything about this movie, so I did not know any of the stuff that I'm about to read. I'm sure some of you guys out there listening did, but I don't want to say fascinated because that's awful, but I was like
intrigued,
flabbergasted, I guess would be a better word, by the amount of things that happened around. Like, do you know about the things that...
I know some things, but I thought you were gonna... The reason I was looking at you like that, I thought you were gonna be like, I've never seen
The
Omen. And I was like...
No, I've seen Of course I've seen The Omen, but I didn't know so much, not only bizarre things, but so many like duplicated to the film things happened in real life. Okay, so again, just like we did for the Poltergeist, let me say a little bit about the movie. For those who don't know or haven't seen it, the movie centers around Damien Thorne, who is the son of Robert and Catherine Thorne. Damien was actually adopted by Robert, unbeknownst to Catherine, after their child was a stillborn. His hope was to save Catherine from the grief of having lost a child, so through the movie, Catherine doesn't know Damien isn't hers. It would turn out, however, that Damien is actually believed to be the Antichrist, and that really starts to come to light the older he becomes, especially when strange and dark things begin to happen all around him. Ultimately, in the film, they do a super deep dive into the Antichrist and who he was and where he came from, so yeah, jumping into some touchy stuff there in the movie for sure.
Yeah.
That being said, a movie centered around the Antichrist in itself, pretty instantly thought to be cursed and plagued, but this one, was really believed to be cursed. And I gotta say, out of all the movieset curses that I have read about, minus The Wizard of Oz, I think this one has the most bizarre happenings I've ever heard of. So let's get into it. First, let's talk about Gregory Peck, who played the role of Robert Thorne. It's believed by some that his curse from the film actually began before he ever even started filming. 2 months prior to shooting the movie, sadly, Peck's son, Jonathan Peck, would take his own life.
Oh.
Some people tend to believe that this event is what started the whole line of events that occur during and after filming. Again, I don't know if that's true or not, but I do know that Peck himself publicly vowed that he was going to channel his personal grief from his son's passing into his character and into the film. Unfortunately, this wasn't the only thing that would happen to Peck. When Peck was en route to London for filming, his plane was actually struck by lightning.
Dang.
And he wasn't the only person involved in the film that would have an encounter with lightning. Just a few weeks after Peck's plane was struck, Mark Newfield, who was the executive producer of the film, his plane was also struck by lightning. By this point, producer Harvey Bernhard, who had already been given a warning about making this film, the warning was given by a man named Bob Munger. He basically told Bernhard that the devil most likely wouldn't approve of them digging around into that kind of stuff. But anyways, by the time 2 people associated with films with the film had their plane struck by lightning, Bernhard started thinking there may be something to what Munger had said, so he started wearing a cross around his neck.
I can't really blame you. I'm sure a lot of people were starting to think that too, especially people that weren't a big fan of them making the movie anyway because of that.
Yeah. Well, I don't know how many people knew Munger had said that to Bernhard, but I'm sure there were people that just knowing what the premise of the film was going to be,
Yeah,
had that mindset already. Oh yeah, but we're not done with the lightning. So let's get back to the lightning occurrences. Okay, so just like a little side note here, they use lightning in the film to signify the power of Damien's presence and energy, and there's several things we're going to talk about, like I said before, that happened in the movie that are eerily similar to things that happen to people in real life. Okay, so back to the lightning incidences. The writer of the film, David Seltzer, his plane was also struck by lightning. And after that, Harvey Bernhard himself was almost struck by lightning walking.
Oh, wow.
So an unusually high amount of people.
Yeah, I think I would probably take that as a hint. I'd be like, I'm done.
No. I mean, I know planes get struck by lightning, but it's 1 or 2 a year. This was 3 or 4 within a couple of months from each other.
Yeah.
That's not a coinky-dink. I don't think. You may be thinking, yeah, lightning, what's up with all the lightning strikes? Well, There's a scene in the movie where a priest is unalived by the church's lightning rod after it's struck by lightning. And for extra aesthetics, the scene took place in an actual church, and the priest was using the church as shelter from a storm. It's pretty ironic. Lost my place. There I am. Okay. I don't know if this has anything to do with anything and as far as the filming of the movie goes, but the filming of this movie took place in locations such as England and Rome. It's pretty much the only, Europe was the only place that this was filmed. And, places like that have a very strong religious history, especially Rome. Mm. And speaking of Rome, the movie was actually set to premiere in Rome, which it did. But during the premiere, a cross that's located on a 16th century church was also struck by lightning. This cross was over 400 years old. Dang. The odds of that happening are literally like 1 in a billion. Maybe even more.
Well.
Like, crazy amount of lightning happenings in this whole thing.
Yeah.
Quite bizarre. Okay, so let's talk about some non-lightning related events that took place. And this next one is very tragic. A small plane that had actually been hired to be used for the aerial filming that they needed to do for the film, for whatever reason, at the very last minute, the plane was actually assigned to someone else, and it crashed during takeoff. I read that some birds got into the engine, but I'm not 100% sure about that part. Either way, sadly, it not only killed everyone on board, but it would also strike a vehicle that was driving by. And it would kill all the occupants in the car as well. And in an even more bizarre turn of events, the victims of the car would turn out to be the wife and children of the pilot flying the plane.
Oh my gosh. Wow.
Absolutely horrible. But also, what are the odds?
Wow. I didn't know that. Yeah, that is crazy.
Yeah. Then there's the incident that occurred where Newfield, remember him, the executive producer whose plane was struck by lightning? Yeah. He encountered a bombing in one source. It says it was at the hotel he was staying at with his wife, and in another source, it was a restaurant that he was about to be eating at that had gotten bombed.
Dang.
There was also rumors that Richard Donner, who was the director of the film, he was staying in a hotel that was bombed literally the day after they finished filming. So he missed being in that building by less than 24 hours. Next, there's the incident involving John Richardson, the special effects designer for the movie, and some sources say girlfriend, other sources say she was his assistant. I've seen another source that said she was his wife. Either way, he was traveling with Liz Moore. And this one is really, really tragic, but it's also highly bizarre. First, let me tell you about one of the scenes in the film. In the scene, David Warner is portraying a photographer whose character's name is Keith Jennings. In the scene, Jennings is helping Robert Thorne, Gregory Peck's character, investigate where Damien came from. In the scene, a sheet of glass slides off a passing by construction truck and decapitates Keith Jennings. Now let's go to the tragedy. In a strange turn of events, Richardson and Moore were involved in a car accident while they were driving in the Netherlands. Richards would only suffer minor injuries. However, Moore would be decapitated by a tire during the crash.
A tire?
A tire. Even crazier than that, it was reported that in the eye shot of the crash, there was a sign that read, Omen, 66.6 kilometers.
Oh, wow.
The wreck took place just 2 months after the film's release.
That gave me goosebumps.
Yeah.
You see, like,
yeah. Just really bizarre things happen around this film. Another thing reported to be strange was the behavior of the animals on set. Terry Walsh, who was one of the stuntmen, he was pretty badly injured when he was attacked by one of the Rottweilers that they were using in the film. Like he had the padding and all that on or whatever, but like the Rottweiler bit through that to get to him. Then the baboons they used in the movie for a scene where Kathy Thorne, played by Lee Remick, and Damien, portrayed by Harvey Spencer Stevenson, were reportedly so aggressive during that scene, Remick wasn't actually acting at all. I read that they were supposed to be driving the truck like through the park, and when they were filming it, the gear shifter in the truck got stuck, and they couldn't move the truck, and with the truck stalling, the baboons just went crazy. So they actually like used part of that in the film.
Wow.
And again, in another strange turn of events, the day after they filmed that scene in the safari park, which they actually used a zoo to film in, one of the zookeepers was attacked and killed by a lion.
Ooh.
Some sources say it was a tiger, so just in case, I'm adding it in here. And I also read some sources said it was actually the animal trainer that they had hired to help control the temperaments of the animals. Either way, extremely tragic, and as far as whether or not it was merely coincidence, I'll leave that up to you. They actually would go on to remake the film in 2006, starring Liev Schreiber, love him, and Julia Stiles. As far as I know, the only strange thing to occur during the filming of this one was when a scene from the film that was meant to reveal Damien's birthmark being 666, for seemingly no reason at all, they lost 13,500 feet of film. Like it just destroyed itself somehow.
Huh.
So that's certainly strange.
Yeah, that's a little strange.
And the only other thing that was reported was of, and I hope I say this right, of Pete Postlethwaite's brother. I'm just gonna call him Pete. Pete's brother passed away. Pete played Father Brennan, and so the story is told that while his brother was playing poker, and after he was dealt 3 sixes, he just unexpectedly died.
Like at the card table?
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
As to the validity of the 3 sixes thing, I don't know if that's true or not, because Pete has made like some jokes about it throughout the years. But I do know that he did unexpectedly die at a poker table while playing cards. So
his brother did die.
Yeah, his brother did die. I just don't know. Yeah, his brother did die at a poker table unexpectedly. I just don't know if he actually got dealt 3 sixes when it happened. I don't know if that part's true or not, but
that would be crazy. I mean, it's crazy in itself.
Yeah,
that
for
would be
sure.
Like,
but yeah, he did. Yeah, the brother did die while he was filming the movie. So, what do you guys think? Is there an omen curse?
I'm gonna say I'm about 80% sure. Yes.
I'm gonna say I'm about 95% sure. Yes. Because I don't know how to explain most of the things that took place.
Yeah, I have no idea.
Pretty bizarre line of events, I would say.
I will agree. That's crazy. Especially all the lightning strikes.
Mm-hmm.
And the dude almost getting struck by lightning while walking.
Mm-hmm.
Like I said, I would have been like, sign taken. I'm not gonna do it. I'm done.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna do it.
You know, that's the thing that amazes me about, like, these films or whatever. And I don't know if it's just that, like, the people make... Which, I mean, obviously it's not entirely true, but there are so many films out there that it seemed like there was either just really jinxed curse, like, sets or curse sets or just bad luck from beginning to end or whatever. You'd think at some point they would do that. Like, they would be like, okay, this was a clear sign. We're going to stop making this movie or whatever. But, like, that never seems to happen.
Well, probably
they always finish the film.
Well, it's probably because they have a lot of money.
And well, I mean, yeah.
involved into it. So if they quit, then they're going to lose all that money. But if they continue, it's kind of like a.
But it's like that's why I could never be like a film producer or whatever, because like I'd be like, I don't care about your money, I will not die.
Yeah.
Like.
Then you would never work in Hollywood again.
Yeah, well, it's a chance I'd be willing to take. But anyway, yeah, a lot of that stuff I had no idea about happening. I knew some of the stuff from the Poltergeist, but I didn't know almost any of the stuff from The Omen. I don't think I'd heard any of the stuff from The Omen before I started looking into it.
I'm trying to think. I know I heard some stuff from The Omen, but I don't think it was really any of the things that you said.
What did you hear?
Because it didn't ring a bell, but when I'm trying to think of it, I can't think of it.
40s.
It's like, yeah, I don't know. But anyway,
but
it was
what
really
do you guys
cool.
think?
I mean, it was definitely interesting.
Thank you. Well, thank you guys for hanging out with us today. I hope you enjoyed our case. And give us a like, a share, follow, subscribe, tell your friends, be our friend. Yeah, we love you. Yeah. That's it. Oh my god, I so want to do I can't do it though.
What?
Because it's not sponsored, but I so just want to be like,
I don't think it has to be sponsored in order for us to say something.
Okay.
Because we're not selling anything, so it's not like, I'm not going to say it just in case. I'm not going to say it like we would, I don't think. We might need to look that up, though, to see, like, if we can say, like, a phrase that somebody says in a movie. Like,
I mean, it would be pretty impossible to not say a phrase that somebody has said in a movie.
Yeah.
What hasn't been said in a movie?
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure, like
that line right there has probably been said in a movie.
I'm sure that's been said in a movie. Yeah. No!
Like, how extreme does this get?
Don't do it!
There are rules, Fallon.
But, like I said, I don't think, as long as we're not putting it on, something to sell.
Yeah.
I don't think we can control. But I could be wrong.
Well, just in case you are. Okay. Remind everyone that was not sponsored, and I just really wanted to do it in that moment for no reason at all. Mm-hmm. It made 0 sense. The placement there.
I'll look it up to find out. So maybe we can be a little bit more like. Because the other day, whenever we were doing it, whenever I was like, "Thank you very much,"
yeah,
I want to be like, "Fuck you very much,"
but you couldn't.
But I just did.
Yeah, you just did. Not sponsored.
But I wanted to say it because it's like, Captain Spaulding's.
Yeah.
Rest in peace. When he died.
Well, I know, but it's the hand gesture.
What?
You're like.
That's
not a thing.
It's my thing.
It's not a thing.
I did it. It's my thing.
But yes, rest in peace. And thank you guys for hanging out with us again. That's it. We're gonna wrap it up. Because we can sit here and do this all day.
Yeah.
Not
really all day.
All
I gotta go pick up my baby.